All right, so let's talk about arithmetic operators. Now, you pretty much already know everything there is to know. You just need to learn how to put it in C++ because the arithmetic operators are basically just math. As you can see here, there's multiplication, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then there's one more operation that we'll talk about in this video later. But let's start with the basic four things that we already know. So let's say that I have int apples and I set that integer equal to 20. And let's say I want to add one apple to the variable. We'll have to put apples is now equal to apples plus 1. And if we see out apples, then we're going to get 21. So let's run this code. There are 21 apples. Now there's another way that you can add one, and this is usually the preferred way of doing it. You can also put apples plus equal to 1. And this will give you the same result. And then there's also a third way. This is what you use to increment by 1. And this is going to be used in for loops or while loops, which we'll talk about later. You can put apples plus plus. And this will increment the number in the integer data type by 1. 21 again. Now, we can also subtract. And it's basically the same way. So let's just comment this out. Let's say we want to take away an apple. We can do apples equal apples minus 1. And anyone want to bet their entire wallet on how many apples they're going to have after this? 19. And just like with addition, we can write this in the same way. We could do apples minus equal to 1. And we'll get 19 again. We can also do apples minus minus to decrement the number of apples by 1. Let's run this. 19. Now, I want to make note that you only use the increment and the decrement when you're subtracted by 1. But if you want to add or subtract by any other numbers, then you might want to use these two guys right here. So let's just do that real quick. Let's say I want to add 5 apples. I might want to use apples is equal to apples plus 5. Since I'm not incrementing by 1, I'm incrementing by more than that. We're going to use this method, and then we'll get 25. Or we could just do the shorthand method, which you'll probably be more comfortable doing once you get a little bit more advanced. It's apples plus equal to 5, which will also give us 25. Same goes with multiplication. Let's say we want to double our apples. We're going to put apples is equal to apples asterisk 2. And we should get 40 apples. That's a lot. Let's comment this out. There's another method. You can probably guess what we're going to put. It is apples asterisk equal to. And that'll give us 40. I'm not going to run it again. I think we get the point now. There's no increments with multiplication because that's just adding and subtracting. So when it comes to division and multiplication, these are your two methods. Let's say we want to half our apples. We can do apples equals apples divided by 2. We run that. That's going to give us 10. Let's comment this out. And the other method is apples division equals 2. And we run it. And it's going to give us 10. Now, usually in division, when you don't have two numbers that divide evenly, you get decimals. So let's see what happens when we take our integer apples and divide it by a number that's not 2, but 3, which doesn't evenly divide. What is the result that we will get? So we get 6, which is a whole number, which doesn't really make sense considering 3 doesn't evenly divide into 20. It should be like 6 point something, right? Well, that's because we have the integer data type, which if you remember, integers don't hold decimals. Now, if you want to do division and carry over the decimal portions, we have to change this into a double data type. And if we run this again, you'll get the exact amount. We now have 6.666667 apples. And now here's the other operation that you may have never heard of before, and it's called modulus. So we're going to turn this back into an integer, and we're going to declare another integer called remainder. And we're going to set this to what happens when we do apples modulus 3, which will return the remainder after dividing 3 and 20. Oh, my fault. I forgot to I forgot to print it. We'll do cout remainder. There we go. And that should work. And let's just comment this out so we don't get confused. Okay. So now we have int apples equals 20. We'll comment this out as well because this isn't going to show us anything. We have int apples equals 20. And we have the remainder, which is equal to what happens when you divide apples and 3, which is 20 divided by 3. We're going to get our remainder here, which is 2. And modulus is pretty useful for if you want to check if a number is even or odd. So what people like to do in C++ is whenever they're checking if a number is even or odd, in this case our number is 20, we'll have it so that whenever the remainder is greater than 0, then it's obviously odd, but if it is 0, then it's even. So for example, we divide by 2 for 20, we're going to get 0 because there's no remainder. But if we take an odd number like 21 and divide that by 2, we're going to get something greater than 0, which is 1, which tells us that the apples number is odd. Anyways, that's all the basic arithmetic. Oh, and I guess I should probably tell you that these follow the rules of PEMDAS, which takes parentheses first, then exponents, which we don't know how to do yet, multiplication, division, addition, subtracting from left to right. So let's delete all this and let's do basic arithmetic here. Let's do cout 3 plus 1 divided by, actually no, let's do 3 plus 6 divided by 2 minus 1. And if we use PEMDAS, we know that division will come first, turning this into a 3, and it will do addition and addition and subtraction from left to right, which is 3 plus 3 is 6, minus 1 equals 5. So let's see if I did my math right. We should get 5 out here. Yep. So just remember that it follows the rules of PEMDAS, where you wouldn't do 3 plus 6 first, turning that into a 9, then divided by 2. Like, no. You do the division first. You check for any parentheses, any exponents, no multiplication. Okay, then we'll go straight to addition, subtraction, left to right. 3 plus, this is 3, minus 1, which equals 5. So those are the basic arithmetic in C++.